What if I told you that thinking like the top 1% has absolutely nothing to do with being smarter? Here's the truth. I grew a multi-million-dollar business from nothing but training my mind to think less, not more. Welcome back to Take and Grow, your daily source for self-improvement, motivation, and unlocking your full potential.
Zara, that's such a counterintuitive statement. We're always told to think harder, analyze more, be smarter. So thinking less is the secret? That feels revolutionary, especially for chronic overthinkers like me.
It is revolutionary, Leo, and today I'm going to give you the 6 mental frameworks that truly separate the doers from the thinkers, the top 1% from everyone else. But here's the catch. At the end, I'm going to give you a challenge to see whether you're actually ready to think like the top 1% or if you are, like most people, addicted to complexity and overthinking.
A challenge? I'm already intrigued and slightly nervous. What's the first framework?
Let's dive right into the first framework. And fair warning, this one is going to challenge every productivity guru and person who worships them. Avoid binary thinking. Embrace and, not or.
Okay, and not or. What does that mean? Most people, myself included, see the world in black and white. Success or failure, good or bad, quit or continue.
Exactly. That's the trap. Real life is messy, it's nuanced, it's rarely perfect. The quickest way to think more clearly and with more emotional resilience is to avoid binary thinking. This single mindset shift saved me years of wasted effort and honestly, so much turmoil. The top 1% use and, not or. They hold conflicting truths simultaneously.
Can you give us some examples of holding these conflicting truths? This sounds like a powerful way to master your mindset.
Think about it. This person screwed up and they've done good things. This plan is painful and it might still work. I'm scared and I can still do it. This launch flopped and it taught me what to fix. This framework leaves room for nuance and prevents you from blowing up your life just because reality is messy. One of the hardest and statements I've had to hold is, I'm successful and I'm still figuring it out.
That's so relatable. We often feel this pressure to be perfect, to have all the answers.
For the longest time, I used to think that if I did anything that conflicted with the person I wanted to be, successful, perfect in somebody else's eyes, that I was a bad person. And so a mantra I started saying to myself, which sounds silly, but was incredibly relieving, was, I'm a good person. And I do bad things sometimes. It created a huge level of relief and allowed me to have more clarity of thought.
That's incredibly freeing. It reduces the self-judgment.
It does. So you want to start using and statements in your hardest moments. I feel like giving up, and I can take one more step. This is harder than I thought, and I'm still learning. Thinking in ands builds mental flexibility, clarity, and emotional resilience. When we speak with ors, we often make ourselves feel worse than we already feel. This is a foundational step in building confidence and developing success habits. This next framework will make you realize why you're stuck in those frustrating mental loops. Inversion thinking. The top 1%, the people with the biggest businesses, the most money, the best relationships, the fittest bodies, they don't focus on how to win. They actually focus on how to avoid failure.
That's a complete flip. Most people, myself included, spend all their time thinking, how can I succeed? What's the best strategy?
Exactly. Most people believe that if they just think more, they're going to make better decisions, make more money, that somehow their life is going to magically get better. As if there's some level of genius you unlock through overanalysis, suddenly becoming Warren Buffett overnight. I used to think that way too. I thought planning and obsessing meant I would be more prepared. But all that extra thinking actually makes you worse.
Worse? How can more thinking make you worse?
2 reasons. 1, Overthinking fuels overconfidence bias, making you believe that just because you've crafted this incredibly detailed, flawless plan, that it's actually going to work perfectly. It just makes us feel better. It doesn't mean we will do better. 2, it causes confirmation bias, where you selectively gather reasons to justify what you already want to do, ignoring contradictory evidence.
So overthinking is procrastination dressed up as productivity.
Precisely. My biggest breakthroughs came from asking one simple question: how could this go wrong? Inversion thinking flips the question from how do I succeed to what would guarantee failure. It's often easier to spot failure patterns than to predict success, and avoiding pitfalls drastically increases your odds.
Can you give us some example of this in action?
Sure. Instead of how do I build a $100 million business, ask what would guarantee that I fail at building a $100 million business. I would hire incompetent people, have no technology to support growth, treat people poorly, all the things that would lead to failure. So how do I succeed? I do the opposite of those things. Inversion thinking is such a great unlock because you essentially take the things that would create failure and you turn them around, which creates success. Stop trying to think your way to success and start thinking your way around failure. The next time you're planning something, ask yourself, what would guarantee that I fail at this, and how do I avoid those specific traps? If you're a chronic overthinker, the inversion framework is for you. Our third framework, and this is somewhat controversial opinion I hold. Most people are addicted to their own suffering. The sunk cost fallacy.
Sunk cost fallacy. That's when you stay committed to bad decisions because you've already invested time, money, or energy, even when it no longer makes sense.
Exactly. Most people stay stuck with bad decisions not because they're working, but because they don't want to waste what they've already put in. For example, I spent 2 years of my life building a product I knew wasn't working. The market didn't really want it, but I had invested so much time. I didn't end it soon enough because I was protecting my ego rather than my future self. The day I said, I cannot do this anymore, this is not the right thing, if I were to start from zero today, I just wouldn't build this, was the most freeing day of my life. It's when everything changed for me. I realized if I could get rid of that business I put 2 years into, I could get rid of anything.
So for a top 1% thinker, the question becomes, if I had nothing invested in this, would I still start this today? Would I still be with this person today? Would I still pursue this path today?
Precisely. If the answer is no, it's time to pivot or walk away. I once gave away a dog I loved because after starting a business, the joy he gave me was replaced by the stress of travel and finding care. I asked myself, if I didn't already have the dog, would I get a dog today? The answer was no. So I found him a family with kids and a yard. These moves might look harsh on the outside, but they serve your future self. The top 1% understand that sunk costs are the price of learning. There is no reason to keep suffering with baggage from past decisions. Sunk cost is not a valid reason to continue suffering or with a decision that is no longer serving you. This is a critical habit for mastering your mindset. Our fourth framework, constraint thinking. Find the bottleneck. This is where 90% of entrepreneurs waste their time. Most people try to improve everything at the same time, which dilutes their focus, slows down results, and prevents breakthroughs because they don't have enough attention on any one thing. This is the opposite of clear thinking.
So many people waste hours overthinking simply because they don't know how to identify a bottleneck.
A bottleneck is the one limiting factor that constricts all of your growth. What happens is people waste time optimizing parts that aren't the constraint, either because they're good at them, they like them, or they want to avoid the thing that's the real constraint. It's like someone doing 90 minutes of fasted cardio and gym workouts but not losing weight. The bottleneck is the binging, not the lack of exercise.
So in business, it could be optimizing customer service when the real issue is sales.
Exactly. At my company about 18 months ago, I realized our constraint was not our brand, sales, or product. It was finding the right talent to scale. Once I realized this, I stopped obsessing over everything else. I cleared my calendar, focused entirely on recruiting for 2 months. Everything else was a distraction. Constraint thinking is how you create breakthroughs instead of incremental improvements. I use the same theory with myself. If I'm trying to improve my health, happiness, or relationships, I ask, what's the constraint?
And it's usually the thing you're avoiding because it would be the hardest.
Precisely. I remember in my relationship with my husband, Alex, the constraint was my tendency to cold shoulder him when he did something I didn't like, creating days of tension. I realized the bottleneck wasn't about making him dinner or other gestures. It was about me learning to stop acting like a child. Improving things doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing the right thing in the right sequence. So, ask yourself, what is the one constraint holding everything else back for you? It's probably the thing you're avoiding, but the hardest way is ironically the easiest way to change. This is critical for developing success habits and achieving a healthier lifestyle. Our 5th framework, emotional regulation. Don't decide when emotional.
This is huge. I know I've made some terrible decisions when I've been emotional.
Me too. When your emotions spike, so do all the errors in your decision making. Emotions are the top reason we cannot think clearly, especially when stress, fear, or urgency cloud our judgment. Fear amplifies loss aversion. We'll do twice as much to avoid losing than to win. If you're building a business out of fear, you won't win as big. Stress makes us short-sighted, leading us to sabotage long-term goals for short-term relief, like stress eating that piece of cake when you're on a diet. Anger makes us react fast, leading to regrets later.
So what's the rule here? How do you manage this?
Here's the rule I've made for myself. If I feel emotional, I do not make a decision. I only make decisions when I feel contented. Contentment means I don't feel urgency, I'm not in a state of fear, not wound up, anxious, or stressed.
But what about intuition? Those quiet, persistent feelings that tell you something.
That's different. If it's quiet, persistent, day after day, that might be your brain signaling something from past experiences to help you avoid future mistakes. But if it's sudden, overwhelming panic, fear, or anger, that's just an emotion you need to let pass through your body until you're calm.
Can you give us an example of how this saved you?
Absolutely. We had a business that wanted to do a deal with us, offering $5 million less if we closed in 2 weeks. When I heard this, I immediately felt panicked. They pushed, saying it's $5 million. But I said, I can't make this decision today. I need to sleep on it. The next morning, I realized why. I wasn't aligned with the founder. He reminded me of someone who tanked his business. It was the best deal I ever didn't do because he burned his business to the ground 2 years later. If I had made that decision in a panic state, I could have gone down with him.
That's incredible. It took you saying, I'm panicked, wait a day, to save you from a huge mistake.
Exactly. So the next time you're feeling emotional, tell yourself, if I feel emotional, I don't decide. If someone rushes you, tell them, I don't make decisions quickly. We often make decisions just to get it over with, but that's not a good reason. The emotions will subside no matter what. So wait for clarity, not for emotion. This is a crucial habit for mastering your mindset. Here is the final framework that separates the top 1% from everybody else. Time horizon anchoring.
Time horizon anchoring. That sounds powerful.
It is. Here's the brutal truth of why most people fail. If you want to win, you need to think on a time horizon longer than anybody else. Your brain will panic the moment progress slows or something goes wrong, and you need to not listen to it. The top 1% win not because of how hard they play, but because of how long they play. 99% of people lose because they cannot stick with the plan long enough for it to freaking work.
So it's about endurance and patience, not just immediate results.
Your brain has recency bias. It overweights whatever just happened. So, the moment the plan feels hard or boring or something really bad happens, your brain says, maybe things have changed. It's looking pretty rough right now. Maybe I do need a new plan. Or, why am I even doing this anyways? This applies to businesses, relationships, everything. 9 times out of 10, nothing has changed. It just got really hard for a minute.
So the real advantage isn't a better plan, but sticking with the current one long enough.
Exactly. You want to override that recency bias with one simple rule. The plan works until the data proves it doesn't. No feelings, no I'm bored or it's hard, just data. Follow the evidence, not your feelings. Thinking does not equal progress. Action does.
So for the next 7 days, how do we apply these frameworks?
For the next 7 days, every time you catch yourself overthinking, ask yourself one of these questions instead. How could this fail? Inversion thinking. Can I use and instead of or? Binary thinking. Would I start this today? Sunk cost fallacy. What's my real constraint? Constraint thinking. Am I emotional right now? Emotional regulation. Is my timeline realistic? Time horizon anchoring.
That's a powerful set of questions to cut through the noise.
The difference between the top 1% and everyone else is not intelligence. It is the discipline to think less with better frameworks and act more. This is how you take action, develop success habits, master your mindset, and truly unlock your full potential. So, there you have it. The 6 mental frameworks that separate the top 1% from everyone else. This is how you stop overthinking and start achieving. Avoid binary thinking. Embrace and, not or. Inversion thinking. Focus on avoiding failure, not just achieving success. Sunk cost fallacy. Don't let past investments dictate future suffering. Ask, would I start this today? Constraint thinking. Identify and tackle the one bottleneck holding you back. Emotional regulation. Don't make decisions when emotional. Wait for contentment. Time horizon anchoring. Play the long game. The plan works until the data proves otherwise.
Zara, this has been a truly transformative episode. It's about working smarter, not just harder, and giving us the tools to manage our most powerful asset, our minds.
Absolutely, Julian. You have the power to implement these today.
If this episode resonated with you and you're ready to start thinking like the top 1%, please hit that like button.
And if you're serious about building confidence, developing success habits, and mastering your mindset, subscribe to Take and Grow for more transformative content. Share this video with a friend who needs to stop overthinking.
We'd love to hear from you. Which of these 6 frameworks are you going to implement first to stop overthinking? Let us know in the comments below.
Thanks for tuning in to Take and Grow. We'll see you in the next episode.